Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio. Hoping you're having a great Friday morning. It's the weekend, so hopefully you guys are getting geared up to, I don't know, do your hobbying, do your gaming, doing something that you enjoy this weekend. Maybe going out and playing some disc golf. Looking at you, my friends out there in Humble, Texas. Um, Maybe you have to unfortunately work for the weekend. Maybe it's the start of your work week. Regardless, I am hoping you're having a great day and you have a great weekend. Now, I've got a couple caveats before we dive into this video. And I want to at least point these things out, before we go on, because I don't want any misconceptions, misperceptions, misinformation, etc., miss whatever you want to throw out there. So first up, we're going to be talking about Games Workshop. And that's a hot topic for me. But I need to at least point out, because it might have been a while since I've actually had to give this caveat in regards to Games Workshop. Now, their product, generally, I am in favor of. I'm a fan of Space Marines, as a lot of you know. I'm a fan of, like some of the novel series, especially like the Eisenhorn and the oh goodness, I can't even think the other guy's name. I really enjoy a lot of the IP. The Horus Heresy just got too a little wonky for me. Like they were just milking it for every last drop, but it was still good up to the point that I stopped. All right. And still, regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that if you enjoy Games Workshop, regardless of the product, regardless of the lore, whatever it is that draws you to it, I'm not attacking you or your hobby. In fact, I encourage you to keep participating what brings you joy. Now, with that said, my displeasure, my disappointment is with the business practices Games Workshop has conducted, especially in the last 6 months. And of course, about this time last year, and what they've been doing to us as the consumers, to other content creators, not myself, I've not been affected by it, but also the friendly local game stores, the very backbone, the lifeblood of Games Workshop. They've done a lot of shady business practices, and we have provided proof of that on this channel. I know Rob Bear over at Spikey Bits has covered that. Numerous places have covered that enough that it's even made to the news for like Financial Times and such. I know the UK Times and another several other articles have popped up concerning the downward spiral of Games Workshop. And that's what I was talking about a few weeks ago. I've been monitoring this downward spiral, not just on the forums, which the forums can be an isolated thing like Reddit or Facebook, even Discord servers. Those are isolated incidents, and they're a small fraction of the larger picture, right? But it's, even though that's the vocal side of things, it is not necessarily the only people that are in that faction. Other people that are feeling the same way or responding the same way or experiencing the same negative things from Games Workshop might not be vocal, but they're still a part of that group. So that tiny minority becomes something much, much larger. And it's caught the notice of investors, and Games Workshop has paid for it. So, but that's what this is about. Now, it's once again, it's not about me attacking you. I'm definitely not doing that. You enjoy this, you want to play your Horus Heresy, Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, any of the variety of specialty games after that or under those banners, or even you want to you just enjoy hobbying with their product, or you love their novels and their lore, whatever your involvement in, I'm not attacking that. I'm not actually attacking anybody. I'm just pointing out problems with Games Workshop, like everybody else has, over at least definitely the past 6 months. And it's come to a boiling point. We're going to get there. So I just wanted to make sure that caveat in there, because I've expressed before that I am not really happy with Games Workshop. It's not that I'm salty with any action they've done to me personally. It's the behavior that they've done towards everybody else. So it's hard for me to not give it an emotional response in a video which just comes off as being poopy pants, and I don't want to be poopy pants on on a video without being somewhat positive or at least neutral in this. So this article that's up on Spikey Bits covers a number of things, but it's not worth it to work with Games Workshop. And what does that mean? Well, there's a number of things that's covering this, and I'm going to put a link for this article on Spikey Bits in the description below. So please go over there, read it in full, because I'm not going to, because I don't want to pull away from the people that wrote the article and then did all the preparation to put it up on the webpage and everything like that. I don't want to take away from that. So please go over there. But they do talk about using at least one content creator up front, like Midwinter Minis. If you've never been to their channel, I'll try to get there, if I can remember, get their link down in the description below. Head on over there. They got some great content for things related to Games Workshop and gaming in general. So please give them a follow. I would appreciate it. Anyways, so they talk about the NDA. Now, the NDA, non-disclosure agreement, is something that employees, and now, there's links in this article, they talk about the new potentially predatory NDAs that they're having content creators sign, and you can judge for yourself whether it's predatory or not. But we sign these non-disclosure agreements because we're not supposed to reveal information. Now, of course, you would expect an employee to not reveal the information, but they do. Even when I was back working for Games Workshop, there was a point in time where information was being revealed, and we were, even after we signed NDAs, like when all the new paints first came out, and we had like the glazes and some of the new types of paint and such, the texture paints. We all signed NDAs during those meetings, and we got to see and test everything up front. And then a day after we got back from that meeting, from that weekend annual meet or quarterly meeting, that information was revealed. And boy, let me tell you, the emails that were going around, the calls from our trainers and basically our bosses saying, "Hey, don't say anything." It was like it was on fire, and I was like, holy crap. I mean, guys, you should not be revealing this information. At that time, I was still in that mentality, like, you sign the NDA, yeah, don't reveal. And I'm still like that, because unless it's something that is like you're raising a red flag because there's something illegal going on, then there's no reason to violate your NDA. You're violating your integrity and your trust. And there was even a point in time, just a little bit of a backstory, that when I was working at Games Workshop, and 1 to 2 years, I think it was 2 years after, up to 2 years after, I was looked at by Games Workshop North America as being the leaker, or a leaker of information, which I wasn't. I mean, I was still in my Marine Corps criminal investigator mentality with my top secret clearance. Like, you don't reveal information. You sign something says I will not reveal this, or legally I'm in trouble. Yet follow the rules. And even now I am like that. So it was very maddening that I was being accused of something that I didn't do, even after I wasn't an employee, which has led some people to believe that that's the reason why I'm not working at Games Workshop anymore, which could be. But, that's neither here nor there. Since I've left Games Workshop, my life has been way better. Now, real quick extra caveat in there. If you're looking to work for Games Workshop in their stores, and you're not making a lot of money, making like $5 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever, maybe not $5 an hour, $10 an hour at your job, and you got no prospects, then Games Workshop, if they're opening up a store in your location, go for it. They have usually a good salary, around $33,000 to $35,000 a year. You're running your own store. It's going to look good on a resume. You're going to get great insurance. It's good money for those that don't know what they're doing. It's an excellent opportunity. But remember, when you go to apply, it's not about your hobby. It's always about the customers. Remember that. Their enjoyment is more important than what you know about Games Workshop. So remember that. That's just a little hint there. Regardless, I've digressed. Now, these NDAs are very important, but with the content creators, these NDAs are a little wonky, and there's not a whole lot that you're getting out of it, as Midwinter Minis will attest to, and other ones like Mini Maniac. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and people like Art of War and such. They're getting, and another guy, I can't think of his name, but his videos are so amazing. They get the content early, but it's like 1 to 2 days before. They don't get any information about it. It's just, hey, here's your product, and we're going to announce it on Warhammer community page the next day or 2 days from now, or we're going to announce, we've already announced it, but here you go for your video. There's not a lot of consistency with that. It's just like with their video games, they're throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there, seeing what sticks, and then they're forgetting about it. And that's what we're seeing with these, with the content creators. The point of this, and part of that, this part of the article is, if you're a content creator, do your own thing. Don't be chasing the NDA with Games Workshop. It's not worth it in the end. If it'll help you, great, go ahead and start, but don't use that as the basis for your content. Find your niche and stick with it. And if this can help, okay, but just be aware that it's not going to do things for you like you're hoping it will. Games Workshop has a favoritism issue going on, which, they're, relatively speaking, they're allowed to do, but there are certain people that they are going to be more favorable to, even though you all are content creators. They have essentially what some are viewing as a secret tier of content creators. Even though you're not official Games Workshop employees, maybe you're a little lowly tier 3, just starting out content creator, like maybe Midwinter Minis was. And then you look at stuff like, I don't know, a certain studio that I'm not going to mention because I don't want them to get mad at me, because they do some great content. But the studio mainly does painting stuff, but they get stuff early, like really early, like months early before the official announcements. So there is a secret tier going on there of the content creators. So there's not really a fair play going on there in that regards. And then of course you get no information about what the content's coming out. Sometimes you just get content for no reason, or product for content for no reason. And even after the stuff has already been released. So one of the things that Midwinter Minis is also about is, he had an explosive growth thanks to Games Workshop. But when it came time to like the new edition for Warhammer 40,000, he got no content or no information about that. It was just, hey, by the way, guys, everybody out there, we're doing something for Warhammer 40,000. We got a new edition coming. And all the content creators, except for a hand-picked or a hand-select crew, got that information. So once again, it comes down to favoritism, which isn't a good business model. Now, another conflict of interest in regards to like NDAs and such, I'm not going to mention it, but there are, if you guys have not seen, there are a lot of content creators for Games Workshop and Warhammer 40,000, especially Age of Sigmar and whatnot. And a lot of these bigger content creators, and I'm not saying these people specifically have done this, but these larger content creators like Art of War, Frontline Gaming, the Long War, I believe that's the name. There's a lot of content creators out there, right? And a lot of these people, I don't think the Long War does, but the other two have coaching services. And there's other coaching services, smaller ones, that you're getting actual value out of versus you're getting name brand value versus actual content value. If you understand what I'm saying here, you might be able to find, like using a shoe as a reference, Nike shoes, that's a name brand quality versus an actual quality shoe, say like New Balance. So if you want good running shoes, like quality running shoes, you go get New Balance. If you want a status symbol, or you want to have, what everybody else, basically like the gold standard of it. You get, say, Nike, even though it's not great content, it's not a great shoe. It's a name brand that everybody recognizes. You're like, oh man, check out those Nikes. It's a. Yeah, I hope you guys understand that reference. So when there's coaches out there that are, hey, I won a Las Vegas Open 5 years ago. I'm charging $100 per single coaching session through Patreon or whatever service you use, and I'm going to give you some personal coaching advice. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds really, really good. And then it's not really good. It's more of like a general coaching instead of something very specific. And then you see other content creators or other coaches, other smaller coaches. I can think of one off the top of my head and I can't think of their name. But I don't, I'm going to try to keep names out of this. But they're based in Houston. They give quality coaching versus, hey, we have a name brand. So there's differences in that. And where this comes into play into the behavior of Games Workshop and why we're seeing another downward spiral is there's some conflicts of interest where these big name influencers or coaches are getting information directly from Games Workshop before everybody else does. And we know that we don't know who's necessarily on the playtest team, but there is a playtest team from North America. And it usually, from what we understand, involves a lot of the top players, including some people from, say, Frontline Gaming and Art of War. And these playtesters are getting this information for codexes and battle tomes and whatnot before before it goes to print and all that stuff like that. And they're getting insider knowledge. And then when the final product comes out, they're getting it advanced notice or even advanced copies of all this stuff, which, as they point out here, is that, yeah, these guys might be top-notch players, but this is still, that's a conflict of interest. They're getting information way before us, which is enhancing them and enhancing their game, especially when they contributed to the creation or the modification of rules. And that we'll see how that all plays out. But it shows more of that favoritism towards certain people over others, which is, once again, a shady practice that we, the fans, the majority, are getting fed up with. Now, other things like lack of cooperation with stores, we definitely have covered here on the channel, so I'm not going to rehash that. But Games Workshop definitely has a bad relation with its friendly local game stores. I mean, I can name at least 3 other stores between Texas and the East Coast that are getting product that they didn't even order and they're being charged for it. And the stuff that they have ordered, they're not receiving until 6 months later. That's bad on Games Workshop's part. And that they're being basically friendly local game stores are being mistreated all across, except for maybe a few fan favorites. But neither here nor there. Once again, I can't provide you proof without going through a whole legal rigmarole and trying to defend myself from their vicious sharks that patrol or troll through the waters of the interwebs. Now, there we go. Games Workshop seems to play favorites. I forgot they already mentioned that. I'm not even going to bother reading into this. I want you guys to be able to see all this. So what does this all have to do with Games Workshop kind of spiraling downwards? Well, as recently as of last year, October 2021, that there was an effort. Okay, there was an effort to ban Games Workshop, and let's face it, bans don't work. We've seen that. We've seen Change.org doesn't work. I mean, look, Amber Heard is still going to be in the Aquaman movie, even though the Change.org thing says it is. There's like almost 5 million or just over 5 million people are petitioning for her to be removed from the movie because of all the stuff that's going on. I'm not wading into that legal battle. I don't care what side you're on. I'm not here to discuss that. We can do that in an entirely different video. But these things generally don't work. And when you have a vocal minority only contributing and nobody else tacking on their name, especially the big people, like let's say Art of War or Frontline Gaming, they're not going to step up, because if they do step up when they know that Games Workshop is doing bad stuff, but if they do, they lose their place, their position in that special status of non Games Workshop employee or a partnership type status. They're going to lose that. They're going to lose all their free stuff, all that backing, that financial backing, the ability to be play testers, to get stuff ahead of time, all that sort of stuff, all that sweet swag that they're getting from them. Essentially, they're not going to have access to that if they wade into something they know is wrong. And you know what? They've got a business to run, and whether it's right or wrong, I'm not going to discuss it. I'll let you guys discuss it in the comments below. But this vocal minority they had attempted to do the ban, didn't go anywhere, except it triggered a small dip in the stock market just for a period of time. But all these practices that Games Workshop is having, this is where I'm kind of coming around to, is starting to show that wear and tear. And I said that there's a downward spiral for Games Workshop. Now, people are going to go, well, John, financially, they're going down because of pandemic. Stop with that. The pandemic, and I'm going to show you, the pandemic has been a boon to Games Workshop. It has been probably one of the best times in their financial history that they've had so much success. So please stop with that. Let's just dive right into that. Let's take a look at them on the stock market right now. Let's go to year to date. All right. So right now they are at, as of yesterday, close of yesterday's market, they were at $85 a share. And I could be reading this wrong. If I'm reading it wrong, you guys tell me. But usually when numbers go down, that's bad. Now, at the beginning of the year, they were sitting at 137.65 per share. That's really good. That's really, really good. So they have dropped. What is that, about basically like about $52 a share? I'm assuming this is all U.S. Since I think I'm linked on the U.S. So they dropped down 52 points. Let's just call it that, 52 points, approximately. Nope. Yep. You guys do the math. Let's go with 52. Yeah, it'd be 52-ish. So in the past 5 months, not even full 5 months, they have dipped, and go back and look at those previous videos I've had concerning their practices this year, with their price raises, their reducing stocks, all the communication issues, not fulfilling their orders, everything that I've covered and other people have covered. People are like, well, that's not really going to hurt Games Workshop. Well, it did. Look at that. That is a huge drop. And you're like, well, they'll recover that. Okay. You're right. They will recover. Let's go ahead and go take a look at a year. So this time last year to today. So May 22nd to May 22nd, or sorry, they got it May 24th. They were $148, and they peaked at $171 in July. Now, mind you, this is during the pandemic when everybody was suffering, financially. Well, Games Workshop was doing amazing. Look at these numbers, guys. $171 per share in June of last year. It dipped, but still peaked for about 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 months in around $152 range, $160 range. And then we started seeing the dips. And remember when I mentioned that there was those articles coming out about the ban? Well, that dropped it down. Not too much, but there was a drop. It wasn't too significant. And we saw a swing up, as we would expect, as we're going into the holiday season. But then we look at the rest of this year with all these bad things going on with Games Workshop, how they treated content creators, like fan-made videos, how they were treating the employee, or not the employees, but the friendly local game stores, all the, as Rob Bear calls them, fear of missing out product, all those issues with that, and then the price raises, I can't remember the other thing that had gone on. We see this huge dip. Almost half of their stock has been lost within the past year. So don't tell me it's the pandemic. So we're going to go ahead and push it back just a little bit more. Let's go to a 3-year climb. So from this time in 2019, approximately, all the way up. We've seen they are rising. The pandemic started sometime basically around February of 2020. So end of January, February 2020, they're at $95 per share. And then we saw a slight dip, and we know that there was some global. That was about March, April, May timeframe when there were some big dips on getting stuff out because the pandemic just really was hitting hard. People were trying to adjust to that. Then we see the huge pricing raise, or the stocks just skyrocketing. Well, this is to me is skyrocketing, going from the lowest of the beginning of the pandemic at $50. It's about 2 months into the pandemic, to peaking in 2021. So last summer of last year at 171. They look at these numbers, guys. They went from 50, even before, let's go before the pandemic, at $56 approximately. Let's go at the end of beginning of the year. So what is that? About $82. And then they spiked. Huge number, guys. Double basically of what they had. And now they're on their downward spiral because of a number of practices. Now, don't tell me it's because of shipping. The shipping issues have been resolved earlier this year. Don't tell me it's because of the pandemic, because it is clear that they benefited from the pandemic. And it comes down to, once again, how they're treating people, how they're treating the customers, how they're treating the stores, content creators. Basically, they're very bad business practices. What does this spell for Games Workshop? Does this mean Games Workshop is going to finally die out, like a lot of people predicted? No, but that's all those times that we've mentioned, hey, these price increases are going to affect them. These things that they're doing are going to affect them. It's starting to show that it's affecting them. And consumers, that's us, hobbyists, gamers, readers of their wonderful lore, are fed up with it. And it's starting to take its toll. Now, does this mean that you should jump ship from Games Workshop? Does this mean that you should stop participating in the games, in the tournaments? You should stop supporting your local stores? No. You keep playing this game if you enjoy it. But if you want to be able to voice your opinion without signing and say a change.org, or you don't want to be a keyboard warrior or do content videos like this guy, there's ways that you can support your hobby and your local businesses, but still essentially stick it to the man. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying let's take Games Workshop down. Let's show Games Workshop that we're fed up with their behavior. They need to readjust themselves. They did a great job once they got rid of Kirby, but I think they got a little full of themselves, and we're starting to see it. And you guys have seen my videos before with changing their how often they change their codexes, how often they change their editions, how they often keep changing their miniatures, the horrible concept of the chapter approved. It's just really bad overall. Or even the General's Handbook, for example. This is very bad behavior, and it's going to continue to affect them unless they make a change. And they're not going to know the change if we keep doing certain practices. So how can we do it? Once again, another good article or graphic from Spikey Bits. So don't boycott Games Workshop. I agree with this 100%. However, there's some things that you can do and some things you should not do. So taking a look at this, you guys can read it clear, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you're feeling spicy, do send physical letters to Games Workshop expressing your displeasure with their current practices, prices, IP-related employee salaries, etc., etc. There's even an address there for their official location in Nottingham. Now, please, when you do this, do not go in there and put a hate-filled emotional rant. Put in there the logic behind it. Be methodical, be literal. Don't do metaphor, don't use any slang lingo, use, adult words to to convey this, okay? Or if not, then just don't do it and let somebody else do it, okay? But I would highly recommend, if you feel strongly about it, take the time to draft a letter, have somebody read over it, and then send it. Buy a 3D printer. And I know some people are like, well, John, 3D printers is the reason why sales have gone down. Stop. 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 3D printers had yes, they're more easier to get access to now, but they've been just as easy to access as during the height of when they're making all this money to now. That's not the issue, but do buy one. I'm not saying to print illegal models. Definitely not saying to print illegal models, because that would be me saying, hey, go commit a crime. And I definitely am not saying that whatsoever. But do get one, because there are plenty of alternate sculpts out there of, say, something that could be a space marine or an orc or a space elf or whatever that will work for your local stores. And if some people are worried, like, well, if I ever go to a Games Workshop store to play, I can't use them. Well, let me ask you this. How often do you go to a Games Workshop event and play with that army or those models? How often? Probably not all that often. Most people go to their friendly local game store. So, all right. So do paint your backlog. Please, guys, paint your backlog. That is a huge thing. You know it. I know it. I've got a huge backlog already of commissions and my own personal products. So I'm right there with you. Yeah, paint that backlog. You don't have to worry about buying new stuff. There's some psychology going into, I got all this stuff over here that I need to paint, but man, I really need to buy something. There's a sort of reward. I can't think of the terminology, and I have a degree in psychology, why you should be completing your stuff first before going out buying. I can't think of the terminology, but it is better for you to finish your paint log for a lot of reasons. Before you go out and buy new stuff. All right. Learn new games, which I definitely stress this every time. If you love Games Workshop, fantastic, but try other games. Like they recommend Gaslands, Frostgrave, Infinity, Malifaux. I obviously cover a lot of things, mostly right now, for Marvel Crisis Protocol, but there's other games like Song of Ice and Fire, which is way better than Age of Sigmar and an easier, cheaper price point to get into. If you want some different miniature games, say similar to Warhammer 40,000, you have Spectre Operations, you have Infinity and Malifaux, you have other things, other battle games, and there's other ones popping up all the time. And you don't have, a lot of these are miniature agnostic, so you can use other miniatures, or the price point for their miniatures is way better than Games Workshop. Look at Heavy Gear Blitz, the 3rd edition, or the upcoming Jovian Wars with the spaceship battle, way better than Battlefleet Gothic. So just try out a new game. That's not that hard. You're more likely there's somebody in your local area that is playing those at stores. Reach out to them, find out when they're playing, and come up and at least get a demo game or at least watch a game to see if you're interested. Also, buy paints from Vallejo, Reaper, Army Painter. I'm not sure what 8K is, but also obviously Monument Hobbies, their Pro Acryl line. I have not talked about them in a long time, but probably the best paint out there for anybody to use. Way better than Army Painter, way better than Games Workshop's paints, way better than Games Workshop paints. A lot of paints are actually better than Games Workshop paints. The only thing really holding Games Workshop together right now are their, I would say the contrast paints are a really good line. Not in their pots. I've actually transferred mine over to dropper bottles, but by far and large, those are really the only good thing. There are better paints, better quality paints out there. Looking at you, Monument Hobbies. So these are things that you can do to stick it to them, right? And basically vote with your dollars while you're still able to play their games and enjoy their product. These are other things you can do. So things that you should not do, and this should wrap everything up, is don't harass your local stores or social media staff. That does not work. And in fact, that inhibits or harms the movement, if you will, when you start including harassment, whether verbal or, God forbid, physical, harassment and trolling with, and I'm sure I've done it many times before, trolling with memes and stuff. That's still harassment, guys. I know it's funny, it's a meme, but you're still showing an unprofessional version of what we should be doing. Do not buy from Games Workshop web store or their physical locations. So don't do that. Stop going to the stores unless your only store is right there. But nowadays with Amazon and a lot of stores, I know like Atomic Mass or Atomic Hobby Shop in Cypress, Texas, just an example, and Eden Games and Hobbies and Board and Brew Games, both in Humble, Texas, they have online stores, so you can order online. So order from there if and yeah, you might have to wait an extra day for shipping, but you know what, you're going to be waiting for that anyways. Or go to a physical location of another store. Even Amazon has that availability, but I would go to your local store before you go to Amazon. There's some wonky stuff going on with Amazon, some shady stuff. We've seen people increasing the prices of Games Workshop product on there. So please avoid that. Don't subscribe to the Warhammer app. We've already talked about that. That Warhammer app that's out, the Warhammer Plus, is bad. It is bad, guys. And you can find the videos online. It's not worth the content. It's a waste of money. It really is at the end of the day. That's my personal opinion. All right. I did pay for 1 month and I was not satisfied with the available content. Now, could that change in a year or so? Yeah, but we've already talked about, and other websites have already covered, they're losing subscribers. It is not the moneymaker they thought it was going to be. I think that should be apparent when you attack or content creators, fan creators of videos and such, and you do notice it's a takedown and threaten legal action for free to use content, fair use content, not free to use, fair use content. So that's biting them in the ass. Plus the lies that they've talked about with that content we've covered in videos before. Warhammer Plus is just a failure. Not as much of a failure as the CNN news app. Look that up. But I would say it's definitely a failure of an app. Now, do not give in to buy those the latest FOMO, whatever you want to call it, the fear of missing out boxes. Like, hey, if you don't buy this box, you're not going to get these special miniatures in there. We've seen them turn around and resell those miniatures 4 to 6 months later, and it doesn't do you one bit of good to have that miniature early, because they're usually generic leaders or bosses or captains, whatever, for the armies or models, and they're usually not the best quality snap fit models. So you just wait a few months and get those models, because they're going to be released anyways within 4 to 6 months. Just wait. And because those, like I said, it's fear of missing out. Well, you're not really missing out, because we're looking at you now, Curse City. Hey, welcome back, Curse City. And I'm still surprised that they did not increase the prices, but that's neither here nor there. And don't go to the Warhammer community page. Don't do it. If you want to see what's going to be popping up, you can have it, especially if you have Facebook. Go ahead and have the be a subscriber or like the Warhammer community or official Warhammer 40,000, official Sigmar pages, and it's going to show up in your newsfeed, so you can see that stuff without clicking on it. There's no need to do that. And there's going to be enough content creators like myself that are going to be covering it in videos. So support those content creators. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment. You know the drill. If you do that, you're still getting your content early. You're getting a breakdown from people that are involved in the hobby versus reading an article written that as a fluff piece versus, an actual critical analysis of it. So support your content creators, guys. And then I would also don't go to their online store, because that's giving them basically that click. You whether you're just kind of shopping, unless you have to go on there to see, you want to see what the sprues are for a certain model to see if it's worth getting, that sort of thing. I get that, but avoid their official content as much as possible. These are suggestions. if you want to basically advocate to get some reforms going on inside Games Workshop. Will it work? Well, we look back, guys, and I think it might work. We just like I said, look in the past not even full 6 months. We've seen with their change, with the things that they've done, and we've seen the results of their behavior. This is not pandemic stuff right here, guys. This is a result of their behavior, not because of pandemic. We've already seen they've benefited really, really well off the pandemic. All right, so I'm already starting to repeat myself. I will have a link for the article. Sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts straight. For It's Not Worth It to Work with Games Workshop. Make sure you head over there, read that article, give them the click, give Rob Bear and Spikey Bits the click, because they did a lot of research into this, and they're doing a very good job of presenting this information to us. So make sure you do that. And of course, like I said, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment, because I really want to hear what you guys have to say about this, because there are definitely on this channel, there are definitely people that are full-on 100% supporters of Games Workshop. They're waving that banner. There's people that are super poopy pants, even more than me, about Games Workshop, and there's people in the middle with their own opinions about this. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Please keep it civil. Let's not do any angry name calling and anything like that. Let's keep it civil, but please, let's hear what you guys have to say about these things. Anyways, my name is John. This has been another episode of Havoc Maker Studios Gaming News, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. See ya.